the nations drink the cup of war. Our keynote scriptures are Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 15 through 17, and Jeremiah chapter 25 through 27 through 28, and the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verses 3 through 4. They read as thus. For thus saith Yah Elohim of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. And they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I will send among them. Then I took the cup at Yahweh's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom Yahweh had sent me. Verse 27 through 28. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, you shall certainly drink. And Revelation chapter 6, verse 3 through 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And that was given unto him a great sword. May Yah the blessings to the reading and the hearing of his word. Currently, the intensity of wars and rumors of wars has increased, particularly in the so-called Middle East. The question is, why are the nations so enraged? Why are the nations so enraged against each other, unlike anything that I've ever seen before? And as they are warring, the hostility of war seems to be spreading around the world. Even now, even in places that you don't think of as places for war zones. Guyana and Venezuela and South America are talking about fighting. A British warship just went there. And as we see the hostility of wars spreading in places around the world, we also see the tragedy in Gaza. The world is enraged. The world is enraged for war on many levels. Our Master Yeshua said of these days in Matthew chapter 24, verses 6 through 4, that these current wars are manifestations of events that must occur just before the end. The end being the end of Euro-Gentile dominion of the world. When he says in verse 6 of chapter 24 and 7 of chapter 24 of Matthew, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. In our lesson tonight in Jeremiah 25, which is entitled, The Nations Drink the Cup of War, we will read from this prophecy in Jeremiah 25, how Yahweh sent his judgment on our Israelite nation when the cup of his wrath was poured out on us in 586 BC and 70 AD, when we were destroyed from being a nation, that Yahweh has since determined to incite all the nations of the world against each other to their own destruction by figuratively having them to drink the cup of war, as stated in Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 15 through 17, which states, "For thus saith Yah Elohim of Israel to me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. And they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I will send among them. Then took I the cup at Yah's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom Yah had sent me." Yah's cup of fury is the incitement to war in this passage. It's the incitement to war that causes the nations to want to destroy each other by war. The cup of Yah's fury in verse 15 of chapter 25 of Jeremiah is his incitement of anger and fury among the nations of the world that causes them to inflict war against each other and thereby destroy them. In verse 16, it says that this figurative cup of Yah's fury would cause illogical madness that would drive nations to war with an insatiable desire and thereby cause them to fall by the sword of war. As Yeshua told Kepha in the Garden of Gethsemane, "He that lives by the sword shall die by the sword." For instance, starting with our own nation of Israel, in the time of Jeremiah, the prophet, around 586 BC, the Israelites in Judah made an illogical decision of madness to form an alliance with Egypt to fight Babylon, which was the dominant world power of that time. And Babylon had made a treaty with the Israelites not to destroy us. Yet our king and rulers of that time, Yah gave them the crazy juice of the cup of war, the cup of Yah's fury. And they, our ancestors, betrayed their treaty with the Babylonians, the world power of that time. As stated in Ezekiel chapter 17, verses 11 through 21. "Moreover, the word of Yah came unto me, saying, say now to the rebellious house, know you not what these things mean? Tell them, behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem, and have taken the king thereof and the princes thereof, and led them with him to Babylon, and have taken of the king's seed, and made a covenant with him, and have taken an oath of him. He hath also taken the mighty of the land, that the kingdom might be abased, that it might not lift itself up, but that by keeping of his covenant it might stand. But he rebelled against him, in sending his ambassadors into Egypt, that they might give him horses and much people. Shall he prosper? Shall he escape that doeth such things? Shall he break the covenant and be delivered? As I live, saith Yah Elohim, surely in the place where the king dwelleth that made him king, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant is break, even with him in the midst of Babylon, he shall die. Neither shall Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company make for him in the war, by casting up mounds and building forts to cut off many persons, seeing he despised the oath by breaking the covenant, when lo, he had given his hand and have done all these things, he shall not escape. Therefore, thus saith Yah Elohim, as I live, surely my oath that he has despised, and my covenant that he has broken, even it will I recompense upon his head, and I will spread my net upon him, and he shall be taken in my snare, and I will bring him to Babylon, and will plead with him there for his trespass, that he have trespassed against me, and all his fugitives with all his bands shall fall by the sword, and they that remain shall be scattered toward all winds. And you shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it. So likewise, in Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 17 through 18, the prophet states, then I took the cup at Yah's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom Yah have sent me, to wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah and the kings thereof and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation and astonishment and hissing and a curse, as it is this day. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants and his princes and all his people. Now these historic events of the judgments that happened to the Israelites and the Egyptians when they were defeated by the Babylonians in 586 BC is a kind of prototype of the kind of judgments that the cup of Yah's furious wrath is being unleashed on the nations of the world now in these latter days, as cited in Jeremiah 25, verse 20 through 27. And all the mingled people and all the kings of the land of Uz and all the kings of the land of the Palestines and Ashkelon and Gaza and Ekron and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom and Moab and the children of Ammon and all the kings of Tyrus and all the kings of Sidon and the kings of the coastlands which are beyond the sea, Dedan and Tema and Buz and all that are in the utmost corners, and all the kings of Arabia and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert, and all the kings of Zimri and the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Shishak shall drink after them. Currently, all of the ancient name nations listed in verses 20 through 26 of Jeremiah 25, these nations that are named by their ancient names today comprise modern nations and nationalities of people who are somehow all involved in the current Gaza war. This would then mean that they are all drinking the crazy juice of Yah's cup of war right now as we speak. So let's start with identifying these ancient nations that were listed by their ancient names in Jeremiah 25, and then identify them by their current modern names. In verse 20, the ancient name nationalities currently drinking the cup of Yah's fury are listed, which states, and all the mingled people and all the kings of the land of Uz and all the kings of the land of the Philistines and Ashkelon and Azza and Ekron and the remnant of Ashdod. Here are the modern days of these nationalities listed in verse 20. The phrase mingled people is derived from the Hebrew word for the English word mingled, which in Hebrew is the word Arab. And you can look this up in number 6154, Strong's Concordance. It's easy to deduce that the word Arab sounds a lot like Arab. As such, it's easy to see that the Arab populace are engaged for war because of the genocide atrocities currently happening in Gaza. And therefore, they are drinking the cup of the war of Yah's fury that Jeremiah had prophesied of. Also, the kings of the land of Uz in ancient times, in verse 20. The land of Uz mentioned here was located in modern Syria, which is an Arab ally of Gaza and Hamas. And the Syrians are now involved in the war with the Zionists. They are certainly currently drinking the cup of the fury of Yah. And the phrase in verse 20, which states, and all the kings of the Philistines and Ashkelon and Azza and Ekron and the remnant of Ashdod. This is referring to the Palestinian people. And Azza listed here is really Gaza. They certainly are currently drinking the cup of Yah's fury to engage in war with the Zionists. In verse 21 of Jeremiah 25, it states, Edom and Moab and the children of Ammon. The boundaries of these ancient nations are all in the modern Arab nation of Jordan, whose capital is named Ammon. The Arab populace in Jordan is definitely enraged over the tragedy in Gaza. So they are drinking the cup of Yah's fury. In verse 22 of Jeremiah 25, the phrase, and all the kings of Tyrus, and all the kings of Sidon, and the kings of the coastlands or isles, which are beyond the sea. This is referring to the land of Lebanon, which is the home of the Arab militia Hezbollah, which is currently warring with the Zionists. In ancient times, Tyrus and Sidon, which are in the modern nation of Lebanon today, originally Tyrus and Sidon were seafaring people of commerce called the Phoenicians. They had business colonies all across the Mediterranean sea coast of North Africa and Spain. These are the areas referred to in verse 22 as the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea. Currently, from this region, the Arab nation of Algeria has declared war on the Zionists because of the tragedy of Gaza. In verse 23 of Jeremiah 25, the phrase Dedan and Tema and Booz and all that are in the utmost corner. Today, these nations comprise Yemen, where the Houthi rebels have declared war on the Zionists for their atrocities in Gaza. And they put a blockade in the Red Sea against any ships doing business with the Zionist state of the Israelis. And they're constantly firing missiles toward Eilat, the seaport city of Israel, of the Zionist state of Israel on the Red Sea. And then in verse 24, the phrase in Jeremiah 25, verse 24 says, and all the kings of Arabia and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert, This is referring to all the Persian Gulf, Arabian Peninsula nations, such as Saudi Arabia, the Arab Emirates, Qatar, etc., all of whom, Kuwait, all of whom have a populace of Arab people who are enraged over the tragedy of Gaza. In verse 25, the phrase in Jeremiah 25 says, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes. These ancient areas today comprise the modern nation of Iran, which is the chief arch enemy to the Zionist state of Israel. And they are the major arms suppliers to Hamas, Hezbollah, and Syria in their fight against the Zionists. And then in verse 26, the phrase, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth. This is referring to the European Gentile powers in the West and East, such as NATO nations and the Russian Federation of Nations. The phrase, and all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth. This would include nations like China, India, Japan, and all other nations who are in the United Nations that are taking sides in the war of Gaza. These all that we've just named and read, they are all drinking the crazy juice of war that Yah has sent to them at this time to prepare them for the great war of Yah's wrath, the war of Armageddon. But also, verse 26 in Jeremiah 25 mentions, lastly, this encrypted phrase, and the king of Shishak shall drink after them. Shishak is the cryptic name for Babylon and is the mystery name for the United States of America, which is the biblical mystery Babylon the Great, referred to in Revelation 17:18. So for a lot of people that are saying, well, I got to flee America and I got to go to another nation to find refuge if I can't go back to my own land. Well, when you read this, y'all saying Babylon's going to be destroyed last. So that means all the other nations you might want to flee to, they're going to be destroyed before Babylon, before America is. So you may want to reconsider your plans if you think going to other nations is a refuge. Y'all saying all these nations he will judge, but he will judge America last. In verse 27 through 29, Yah declares to Jeremiah, all these nations will drink the cup of war from the cup of his fury, whether they like it or not. Just like he caused you, his own Israelite nation, to fall because of irony. Verse 27 states, therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send against you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yah of hosts, you shall certainly drink. For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name, and should you be utterly unpunished, yet you shall not be unpunished. For I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith Yahweh of hosts. Notice in verse 29, Yah declares, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith Yahweh of hosts. The phrase, a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, fits the description of the opening of the second seal in Revelation chapter 6, verse 3 through 4, which states, "And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, 'Come and see.' And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." Notice in Revelation chapter 6, verse 4, the sword of war that the red horse rider, red being the color of blood, that the red horse rider carries a sword throughout the earth. This matches the phrase about a sword against all inhabitants of the earth in Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 29. Also, Yah further declares in verses 30 through 33 in Jeremiah 24, 25. "Therefore, prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Yahweh shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. And noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For Yahweh hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. And the slain of Yahweh shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. Notice in verse 31 of Jeremiah 25, notice in verse 31 the phrase, for Yahweh hath a controversy with the nations. Now this phrase, it matches Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8, which declares the reason for Yahweh's controversy with the nations of the world at this time, and his distribution of the cup of fury of war upon the nations at this time. Because it is stated in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8, quote, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. In other words, the reason for Yah's judgments and controversy on the nations of the world is because of the controversy of Zion. The nations of the world do not subscribe to the truth that Zion, Jerusalem, actually belongs to you, the true Israelite people, who are the inheritors of Zion and the land of Israel by covenant with Yah. The nations of the world are trying currently to solve the Gaza and Zionist-Israeli problem in your land. They're trying to solve the problem by what they call a two-state solution, where the Palestinians get the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and the Zionist Israelis get West Jerusalem and the rest of the land according to pre-1967 borders. Yet neither of these two governments, of the Palestinians or the Zionists, represent the true original Israelite people whom Yah has promised the land to. Therefore, according to Isaiah 34:8, when Yah determines when the year of his vengeance comes, when the year of Yah's recompense of vengeance comes on the world, when the year of Israelites' redemption comes, that we are to acquire Zion, Jerusalem again, and all the land of Israel, then it will be the time, at that time, of Yah's vengeance on all the nations of the world who oppose the return of you, the captivity of Zion, back to Jerusalem and the land of Israel. So this is why the cup of Yah's wrath is poured out upon the nations, because their United Nations resolution to divide the land between the Zionists and the Palestinians is gaining momentum by the world as a solution to the Gaza war. Yet Yah declares in Isaiah 34:8, for it is the day of Yah's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Zion is very controversial. So the international cup of fury judgment from Yah on the nations is because he has a controversy with the nations of the world over their disregard for your right to the land of Israel. Again, as Jeremiah 25:31 states, a noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For Yahweh hath a controversy with the nation. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh. And Isaiah 34:8 says, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. For, quote, it says in Isaiah 63:4, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Yah is saying vengeance is coming up in his heart because it's getting close for your redemption, Israel, to come. And he has a year marked out when you are to be redeemed back to your land. I don't think it's quite this year. We'd only have a year, have a little time left, but who knows? It could be next year. As we say every Pesach, Jerusalem next year. And Joel chapter 3, verses 1-2 says, when you, the true captivity of Zion, returns, he will plead with and judge the nation that want to split your land, like the two-state solution they espouse in the United Nations. Reading from Joel chapter 3, verse 1-2. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them into the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of Yah's judgment, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted and split my land, as they're doing now with the proposed two-state solution. Also, Yah says, as he spoke in Joel 3:2, that he will plead with the nations of the world, which means judging them, as cited in Jeremiah 25:31, because Yah has a controversy with the nations about Zion, as was declared in Isaiah 34:8 and also in Jeremiah 25:31. It states, a noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For Yahweh hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword. Hallelujah. Also in Jeremiah 25, verse 34-38, Yah says, howl, you shepherds, and cry and wallow yourselves in the ashes, ye principal of the flock. For the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished, and you shall fall like a pleasant vessel, and the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. A voice of the cry of the shepherds and an howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard, for Yahweh have spoiled their pasture, and the peaceable habitations are cut down because of the fierce anger of Yahweh. He hath forsaken his covert as the lion, for their land is desolate because of the fierceness of the oppressor and because of his fierce anger. Notice in verses 34 and 38, Yah calls out the shepherds of the nations, who are the leaders of the world, who are the real power behind the scenes that really rule this world, whom some may call Illuminati, other names. But in verse 38, Yah calls them the fierce oppressors, which is referring to the rich and powerful people of this world who have enslaved and oppressed Yah's chosen Hebrew Israelite people. Yah tells these oppressors in Jeremiah 25:34, howl you shepherds and cry and wallow yourselves in the ashes, you principal of the flock, for the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished. You shall fall like a pleasant vessel, and the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. A voice of the cry of the shepherds and an howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard, for Yahweh hath spoiled their pasture, and the peaceable habitations are cut down because of the fierce anger of Yahweh. He hath forsaken his covert as the lion, for their land is desolate because of the fierceness of the oppressor and because of his fierce anger. Also, Bishop Yaakov of the Congregation of Zion, Jerusalem, in the book of James, tells these oppressors who rule the world to howl, because they will be punished by Yah for the enslavement of the people of Yah, whom they never paid them for their work. James chapter 5, verse 1 states, go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of Yahweh of Sabaoth, Yahweh of the host, the armies of heaven. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. In conclusion, as Bishop Yaakov declared in verse 7, he says, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of Yah. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of Yah draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of Yah, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Behold, we count them happy which endure. You have heard of the patience of Job, and you have seen the end of Yah, that Yah is very pitiful and of tender mercy. Also, as declared in heaven in Revelation chapter 5, it states, and one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Yehudah, the root of David, have prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. Hallelujah. Praise Yeshua, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, our King and our Savior forever. Hallelujah. Praise Yah.